Okay, welcome to today's training session. So this afternoon training session is the admin RFP evaluation training. So this is for those users that are going to create evaluations and manage evaluations in the tool. And so it won't really be covering how to go in into actual evaluate an evaluation. So if you've been invited how to evaluate, that will be covered in tomorrow's training. So today's training session is just going to cover how to create an evaluation, how to manage it, and how to review the data once you've received it when it's closed. We may not take up the full hour, but we've scheduled that so that we have time in case there are questions or we need to address other areas in the system. So we'll go ahead and begin. I have already logged into the tool. And across the top, we have the toolbars that you've seen in previous trainings. And we're deep diving into the source and RFP eval section. This section is what houses all of the evaluations in the tool. Now, currently, I'm under your production account, so you're seeing the evaluation from here, and we'll create an evaluation from scratch. But I'm going to also move over to a sales or training environment so that you can see it with data as well. There's different areas, so similar to the bid creation section, there's different holding tanks where information can be held. So there's a held evaluation, where an evaluation is held before it goes live. There's a current evaluation, where evaluations are held while they are in the evaluation process. And there are past evaluations, so that's where the evaluation goes once it's closed. And it's ready for the creator of the evaluation to come in, review it, and then determine who to award to. Something to keep in mind is the create new evaluation is always held under the held evaluation. So if you're under the current evaluation and you don't see a spot to create the evaluation, you need to move over to the held evaluation section. If you're not seeing it here, that most likely means that your user doesn't have the correct permissions to create an evaluation. And so in that case, you'll need to make sure to contact an admin on the account that can give you the correct permissions if you need to create an evaluation. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with creating an evaluation. So we'll select create new evaluation, and this takes us into the evaluation template. So here you're just putting in the information. So you're going to put in the title of the evaluation. So I like to usually put in the bid number or the title of the solicitation to kind of keep it connected. So my example today was janitorial services in our create bid training. So I'm just going to use that same concept. So janitorial services evaluation. I'm going to indicate a closing time for when all evaluators have to have their evaluation completed by. So this gives the evaluators a deadline for completing their response and a time that they have to have it in. Max score always has to be around 100. You'll get an error sometimes if you try to put in other scoring methods. You definitely can, but I've noticed 100 usually works pretty well. And then if you see a question mark in the tool, you can click on it and it will bring up this help box. So we're going to put 100. Yes.
Is there any way we can override that? You said sometimes if it's above 100, it creates a problem.
We can try it. Yeah, we can try it for 50 and see if it will take.
Sometimes we might have 120 or 135 or something like that.
Yeah, let's see if we can use that.
What I found in my testing is that if you go over 100, just have to make 100% of 125 when you put your evaluation criteria.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for adding that in, Andre.
Mathematically,
the notes. Okay, the notes section is where you can leave notes to your evaluator or information to the evaluator. So please complete your evaluation by August 11th or Please review the forms attached to the evaluation. So it's information that you can have for your evaluators. So this is different than a solicitation. A solicitation, the notes that you were putting in are public for vendors to be aware of. In this case, this is only for internal users who can see this information. And so if you're leaving any notes, please be aware that those notes are not visible to vendors. It's only information for your evaluators. You can also upload any attachments here. So you could upload the pricing page that was submitted, or if you exported the tabulation recap page from the solicitation, you could upload that here. You could add in information forms that you want the evaluators to read. So you can add different forms to this section. And again, you're clicking upload document, you're browsing for the file on your computer, and you're opening it and then submitting. Once that has processed, you will see a link to that document so that you know it's been attached. So there's my document I've just attached. If you need to delete it, you can go ahead and delete it there.
So that's where we put the proposal?
This is one location where you can put it. There's also the option that I'll show you in just a second on how you can connect the solicitation to the evaluation itself.
Gotcha.
So this is one way.
Now, how many documents can you upload?
I think you can upload as many as you need. I haven't so far ran across an instance where it hasn't let me upload, but then again, I'm not uploading a lot of documents to this.
I know on RFPs that we use, we send a copy of the RFP to each evaluator with the score sheet and the RFP procedures for scoring.
Okay, yeah, you should be able to upload that information. I will double check to see if there is a file limit on this section, but so far I haven't heard any complaints from clients that they weren't able to attach the documents that they needed to. So again, I'm just attaching files from my computer, and then I'll hit save. Once I save, all that has done is just saved the top portion that I've entered in. You can see here's the information that I've put in so far. Here's the attachments that I've added. This proposal section is where you can attach the proposal to your solicitation. So if I click Associate Proposal, what you're able to do is search for solicitations in your tool to then select and attach to the evaluation. So instead of having to add in all of the bid documents, all of the vendor's pricing, the bid packet basically with the vendor's responses will attach here. And so let me kind of switch over to a sales view so that I can show you that a little bit. So if you associate a proposal here, what we'll see in our sales environment is solicitations come up because this one has closed solicitations where your live production account doesn't have any yet. But you'll be able to search through the solicitations that pull up in this box. And that will then connect the proposal to your evaluation. So here's a link now that I can click on, and that link as an evaluator would allow me to see the bid details. So I can see the bid details, I could see how the bid was created. I would also have access to see the tabulation. So if I select tabulation, this means the vendors that participate, and if it was a pricing solicitation, I'll be able to see that. This one was an information only, and we saw this one during our training session today, but they could view the documents here that each individual vendor submitted with their offer or attached on their own. And so they have access to see all of that detail when you connect the proposal. There are some times when clients are doing evaluations, they're creating an evaluation, they do not want their evaluators to see this much detail. And in that case, they do not connect the proposal, and they will instead just add the documents So they'll just add their own attachments for the evaluators to view. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
In terms of getting the bid package, the document proposal package, is it going to do price and everything together? Or not? Because the evaluators evaluate, they do everything but price, generally.
Okay. Yes, so if you select the option from here, this tabulation does allow them to see pricing. So right now we're not seeing pricing because the solicitations I'm selecting don't have pricing from the vendors. So that's something to keep in mind. You may not want to connect your solicitation.
Second part of the question, how can we have a complete or like a complete technical proposal or a complete cost proposal?
Yeah. So when you do the bid electronically, remember how when we were in view bids and the bid had closed, you could generate a packet. So you could come in here and generate the packet and just select the detail that you're needing to be held on an evaluation level. So if you are not wanting a tabulation, yeah, you could select all of this, but let's say you're maybe not wanting a tabulation recap and you're not wanting their bid, so their pricing, you would deselect that for each vendor.
Okay.
So that after you generate a packet, that packet only contains the information that you're wanting your evaluators to evaluate on. So this is a great place to use those in the to be awarded section on the bid, to use these different package options to download and generate a packet and save it, and then upload it to your evaluation.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that we still had the way to segregate the price, because when it came through as a complete, we can't allow the evaluators to see the price. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes. So I'm moving back over to your instance so that we can see kind of creating it from scratch. So in your case, removing the areas of data that you do not want to have displayed, and then just creating or uploading what you're wanting your evaluators to evaluate off of. The evaluation packet will basically generate a packet of the evaluation and what you have on this page. So if you're wanting to view it that way, you can. And if you need to send like an email to your evaluators, you can kind of set up an email there. So you can send it to the suppliers or you can send it to your evaluators. So just be careful about which one of those you're selecting, because you can add in emails and then create a message. So if you wanted to send a notification to your evaluator saying, or to your supplier saying, we're in the process of evaluating the janitorial services, bid number, whatever, you could do that. Or you could send an evaluation message to your evaluator saying, we're in the process of creating an evaluation. Please keep your eye out for an invitation to come and evaluate. So that's kind of the base of the top portion of contact for the evaluation. What you will then need to do is decide who your evaluators are going to be. And your evaluators need to be a user within your account. You'll select Add Evaluator. You can search for that evaluator using the information up top. You can search by department if you need to, but you're basically just going to be selecting the evaluators that will come in and evaluate. By you choosing an evaluator here, this gives right to come in and evaluation. It does not give them the right to come in and evaluate off of every evaluation held in the system. This just gives them the right to evaluate for this evaluation that we're creating. If you've accidentally added somebody, you can go ahead and remove them here, but you can continue to add as many evaluators as you need. The next step in creating the evaluation is to add in a criteria item. you can reorder criteria items, or you can have standard criteria items. So with the standard criteria items, this is something that you as an admin could set up so that when you are creating your evaluations, you can select from a criteria item that you use all the time instead of having to freeform one by using the as criteria. So if you're looking to create a standard criteria item, you do have to create it once, and then it will be held in this location. But you'll create a new criteria item. So is there a standard item that you normally evaluate off of, Andre?
Past performance.
Performance, past performance,
Okay. Task performance?
past, P-A-S-T.
P-A-S-T?
Well, P-A-S-T.
Oh, past performance. Okay. I got your evaluators to evaluate 1 through 10, 1 through 50. What's usually your scale?
Yeah, 0 to 5.
Okay. And then is this a locked criteria, meaning only certain users have the right to evaluate on this criteria item, or is it an item that all evaluators will evaluate on?
All.
Okay.
Actually,
And then, is there a question or a comment?
I'm sorry. In the case of MBE office and all like that, some might be lost. We're good.
Yeah, and that's fine. So if you are creating those standard criteria items, then you'll just select locked. And what that will mean is that only a user that has been invited to evaluate on that criteria item can evaluate. So this is how you can still hold it with the evaluation, but lock it out so only certain users have the rights to evaluate on it.
So we could put in
That's exactly
lock it for the time.
With your scale, is 5 good or is 5 bad?
It's usually 0 to 5, and then we include a factor that will be multiplied by the scale number that they report.
Okay.
5 is great.
So, okay.
Having the weight that we can.
So you could leave a note like this, saying 5 is the greatest. You could also upload attachments to this specific criteria. So if you have those specific forms that apply to that criteria, then go ahead and upload those to your item.
Score sheet.
And then you'll hit save. And what that will do is your item's now there. So when you're coming to create an evaluation, you can first come to your standard criteria items and you can select from the ones that are available, and it will automatically add it over into your criteria so that you're not having to freeform that each time. For those items that are not standard criteria items, you'll have to add them individually with the add criteria. And it's the same concept where you'll have to fill out the template. However, this template's not held in the system. It's just created for this evaluation. So let's just, for the purpose, say location. Save that, and then let's do a price. Oh, I'm over my, I'll have to fix that. So I'm over my total weight, so it's going to give me errors because my total was going to be 125. So we'll need to come in and fix that. So we can hit edit, fix it, that information. Okay, and then let's say that we'll add in price, because maybe we want evaluation on price, but this one's going to be locked because it's only for certain evaluators. And save that. Again, if you select lock, it does require you to add an evaluator, because that evaluator has to have that right to evaluate off that item. So you'll see a list of people here that you can select from. So you'll choose a user. Did it select them? So you'll select a user, and that then gives that user the right to evaluate off that item. A P, that indicates that that is a locked item. So that means that only those that have been given the right can perform that evaluation. So the evaluators will see this item, but they will not be able to access anything within the item. So if you needed to attach pricing here, you could, and it would only be visible to, in our case, Richard, because we gave him the right. And then we'll add in another criteria item, qualification. Oops, over. Okay, let me get this right, sorry. But you can continue to come in and edit till you have the total weight matching your max score. So Andre, that's what you were saying you did, and you were able to get through fine?
I had to get to 100% of 125. So
Oh, so your weight here had to be 100?
not getting
Okay.
there. So the last one would be, like you need to take off 25 somewhere.
Yeah, then we'll just add this one.
Once or twice.
Oh, thought I was adding. Oops. Okay, I'm having problems, obviously. Okay, so we're trying to get this at 100, so I'm just editing until we get that weighted 100. Criteria items, we're having past performance, which is a standard criteria item on the account, location, and then price. And price we're showing was a locked, meaning only the evaluator that we gave the right to, and you could have multiple people have that right. We just gave it in our case to Richard, but if we needed to go back and add additional evaluators, we could do that, but we're only seeing the evaluators on our account. So anybody that's been selected has those evaluation rights. The supplier section, now if you had attached a proposal here, the suppliers would come over from the proposal. But in the case where we're not wanting to have all of that data displayed, we're going to have to add in the suppliers. And so you'll add in the suppliers by using that vendor management tool. You've seen it in several areas of the system, but one area you've seen it is when you're creating a solicitation and you're able to search for vendors to invite. It's the same thing that you'll be searching through, but you'll be searching for suppliers that will be evaluated. Now, if a vendor responded and they did not respond through the system, they did everything offline, you could put them in as a quick add so that they can still be held on the evaluation. So here's my one evaluator, or my one supplier that I added. I'm going to go back and add another supplier. Let it load and pull up. Add another vendor or supplier. Again, if there was a supplier you were searching for and you were unable to find them, you can do that quick add to create the supplier so you can still evaluate off of them. So that's the great thing about the system is even though everything's being done electronically, you do still have the capability to add those in that didn't perform the solicitation electronically. So you can still do your full evaluation here. Once your evaluation has been created, you will close, and it displays here in the held evaluation section. I can still make changes here, so I can come in and look at the evaluation. how I created it. If I needed to remove things, make edits to things, I could still do that. If I needed to edit this top half, I can do that here under edit. So let's say I didn't need these documents, I needed to upload new forms, I could do that and save. So you're still able to come in and make changes while it's in this held evaluation.
Shannon, earlier you were talking about you could go in and look and see where the evaluator is. Process.
Like what process they're in. That's under the current evaluation part. Right here under held, we can't see that because we're just creating it, so we haven't invited anybody to evaluate yet.
Okay, and there was something blocked. There was, on the far right-hand side, there was a block icon on the other page.
Back in here?
Yes, ma'am. Like when you pulled up the respective evaluators.
Was it when I hit edit?
I believe so, yes.
Or was it in the supplier section?
I believe it was in the supplier section.
Okay. If it was in here, and if it's blocked, what I'm thinking, we'll see. But there is a way in the system that you can block a supplier, so this block section. So there is a place in the system where you can actually block a vendor from participating in your solicitations. So for instance, if there's a vendor that you've worked with in the past and they have done poor business with you and you no longer want to work with them, you can actually block the vendor. And what that does is that will change the icon of the vendor to red to show that they're blocked and that you don't want to do business with them anymore. Also, they won't have the ability to place an offer on your solicitations if you do that.
Okay, would that be similar to a pre-qualification? Or is this
no.
Like, okay.
This is like, yes, you can revert, but this is basically saying for all of the users in your account, we are not using that vendor. We are not working with them. They're not allowed to respond to our solicitations, so we're blocking them. So they're in timeout. You can take them out of timeout if you want them to eventually start participating again, but it's completely different than being pre-qualified.
So they're debarred or either they're suspended.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so once you've created the solicitation, it moves to this held section, and it will not be released live to your users until you check the box and release it. I'm going to move over to our sales environment, so I'm under the held evaluation, and then you'll have to put in your password. Again, everything's protected by a password to make sure that you have the authority to be doing what you're doing in the system. If I needed to go back in and review the evaluation, I could come in and review here. And then if I'm ready, I can go ahead and release it. Once I release the evaluation, it moves over to the current evaluation section. So did you see how I went directly from held evaluations and I didn't have to do anything? It just moved directly over to this evaluation section. This now means that a notification will go out to your evaluators, letting them know that they have been invited to come in and evaluate. They will see on their home page a link to direct them to the evaluation that they've been invited to evaluate on, or they can come to the source and RFP eval, and they would see evaluations here that are just displaying evaluations for them. Where I'm the admin, I'm seeing all the evaluations in progress because I'm an admin for the evaluation tool. But if I was just an evaluator, I'd only see the evaluation that is here for me to evaluate on. Now, why the evaluation is current, so why it's in a current evaluation status, you can come in and see the details that you've added. You can see all the evaluators that were invited, the criteria items, the suppliers, and then to actually start it, you have to start the evaluation. If you're looking at this and you notice, oh, there's something I need to hurry and change, you need to move it back to the health section, which will then move it back to here for you to then make your edits, so to come in and edit it. So why it's in a current evaluation status, the only way to make an edit is if you move it back to held. But once it's in current, you do have to start the evaluation. So it's moved over to current evaluation, but I now have to click on it and scroll down and start evaluation. So now the evaluation's been started. Evaluators can come in and start evaluating off the criteria item. Again, if for whatever reason you have to stop all evaluations, you can close the evaluation. If you need to make changes, you can move it back to held to make those changes. So why an evaluation is in progress, you only have access to see kind of what's in this tool. So basically your evaluation and how it's going. All of that is kind of held for the past evaluations. But here you could get inside and just kind of review the data that you've added and review the criteria item data, which is your weight, your scale, your notes, and your attachments. So at this point, there's not a lot of work if you're managing an evaluation. Once you've started it, you're just kind of waiting for evaluators to come and evaluate. Unless you have to close it and you have to make edits, you're really not doing anything at this point. If there's an evaluation that you release quite often, just like a solicitation, you can copy over an evaluation template there for another time, and you can also cancel straight from here. If you cancel an evaluation, you do have to put in your password, so it just automatically won't cancel from that stop button. You will have to put in your password and hit save. If you go back to the evaluation, it's going to take you inside of the evaluation tool. If you scroll down and hit close, it will take us back out to the main evaluation page. Now, once your evaluation closes, based on the deadline you put in your evaluation during the creation, you can move to the past evaluation section. And this is where you'll actually review your evaluations and how the vendor or how the evaluators responded to the evaluation. So the past evaluation holds all that data. To view the data, you have to click inside the evaluation. So we're seeing 3 separate evaluations here, but we'll have to look inside the evaluation to actually see how it was evaluated. So we're still seeing all of our data here. However, we have some additional reports now. We have an evaluation packet, a tabulation report, and overall results in Excel. And then your send email still there from before. But these reports showed up after the evaluation has closed. If we're looking down, we can come and see, okay, here's our evaluators. So we had Douglas and Nancy. Here were the different criteria items, and here's how Douglas evaluated. So 30%, here was his score, here was the percent, and this is where his points came in for that one. So you have a detailed view for each of those. You could also run a PDF in Excel here or view the details. So in these details, I can see for these criteria items, here was our total. Here was all of our different vendors, and here's how they came in. So with Terry, he got 5 out of 5. Brenda got 5 out of 5 here, but then 15 out of 20, 16 out of 20, 18 out of 20 for that criteria item. So overall, this is where you're seeing who came in with the top score. And that's under the details. You can also view those details here for how Nancy evaluated all those different vendors. You can even see if Nancy didn't evaluate. So for instance, she did not evaluate for a few of the vendors. So she never evaluated for Mike, she never evaluated for Paul, and she never evaluated for Rosalie. So whether that was because she ran out of time or she just didn't have the ability to give them an evaluation. So for each evaluator, you have a detailed report on how they evaluated. If you scroll down, here's again a detailed report for each of those evaluators. And then if we're looking down on the criteria, you can open up the criteria data to see what was listed. If you needed to, so if you needed to go back to Nancy and tell Nancy that she needed to go back and evaluate, or so Douglas and Nancy, sorry, are the vendors and the evaluators are listed below. So this is team evaluated Nancy. I think I said that backwards the first time. So Terry was an evaluator, Brenda was an evaluator, David was an evaluator, Debbie's an evaluator. And this is how they evaluated Nancy, who's a vendor, on each of these criteria items. So we can see that Mike did not evaluate Nancy and Paul did not evaluate Nancy. So if you needed to reopen this to tell Paul and Mike that they needed to evaluate Nancy, you could reopen it here. And when you reopen it, you have to put your password in and save it to reopen it. That would kick it back to the current bid section so that, who was it, Mike, could go back and evaluate for Nancy. The main thing that you'll look at here are probably the evaluation packet and the tabulation recap, so you can kind of see where everybody came in and weighted, so you know who to award to. But this is basically where you will find the results of your evaluation. I'm going to go back to the past evaluations. So we were just clicked inside of here. We want to look at another evaluation. We can see kind of a different view. So here we had 3 vendors, and here's the evaluators that evaluated. We can see the details for this vendor. So we can see that Linda did not evaluate, Paul did not evaluate, but Shannon did evaluate, and this is how I evaluated them. We could also see for each individual evaluator where they evaluated each vendor. So this is Linda, who is an evaluator. This is how she evaluated each vendor, if she evaluated. Here's my view of how I evaluated each evaluation. And again, you can open up these sections. So you can see that under one of the evaluations, there was notes left. There wasn't any attachments. See if there was any notes or attachments on this one. No, just notes and no attachments, but you'd be able to see that there as well. So what you're going to be doing is after your evaluation, you're going to be reviewing these reports. You're going to be reviewing these details. You can even generate them if you needed to for other reviews. And that's how you're going to determine, okay, well, who came in the highest and who do we want to award to based off of their evaluation points. So in our case, we're showing that the Children's House International, based off our evaluation, they came in at 36.11 of 100 points, which the 2 evaluations below tied in at 32.26 of 100. So if you're going off of overall value, then most likely you would award to the Children's House International, which means once you're ready for awarding, you would then go to the you would go to your to be awarded bid section, find that solicitation with the bid number, and then select who you're going to award to inside of here. So you would find that vendor on the participants list. And I'm just going to select one. So you select the vendor and close out. And then you would go ahead and issue the award. The award in the system does have to follow a workflow. So once they've selected who to award, even though you've done an evaluation, it will still have to hit the workflow, which I think Fran and Claudia, you're the approvers for that too, before they can award. And this site, I'm not seeing a workflow, but the user would kick it into the workflow as well.
I have a question, Shannon.
Yeah.
Okay, can we add a second evaluation to the RFP?
You can create as many evaluations as you want, but they're just not held under the same one. So let's say that I did the RFP Speedy Delivery Courier Services, and I wanted to issue another evaluation. There's not a way for me to do that evaluation again within here unless I reopened it and told everybody to reevaluate. If I want a complete separate evaluation, you could copy it. So I could copy this over and then make changes. Make any changes or edits that I need to make and then resend it out. So now it would be in my held bid section because I just copied it. So then I would select it and re-release it.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
I've been doing some testing the last couple of days, and I've hit a bit of a roadblock that I just can't get over. And I've looked at, I've gone out into production because, you know, we can search other organizations and agencies' bids. And I'm trying to, in my mind, see how we're going to do this. I have been able to set up an RFP, and I find that if I put in an item for price, when I pretend to be the supplier, I can upload my proposal to the item. But then when I evaluate it, then I've run into the problem where the evaluators can see the price. But they can see the evaluation, okay? So I don't know whether to have like a $0 item to say put proposal here, or whether there's a way through the use of standard documents or documents for a supplier to upload their proposal.
Yeah.
If all I have is a PDF that says, you know, all you have to do is read this because it's the RFP, there's no way for me to, as a supplier, to upload a document.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding correctly. Are you concerned about your evaluator seeing price? Or are you concerned about your, okay, so your evaluators don't see price if you haven't attached the bid to this evaluation. They won't see the price. There is, however, if you have users that have the award, so users with the award scenario who can see past evaluations, if you don't want them to see pricing at all, there is a permission that actually makes it so they can't see price if the vendor has submitted it through the tool electronically, not an attachment, but the actual pricing page that a vendor fills out electronically. So if there are users that you're not wanting to see price in this section, in the view bids, the to be awarded.
So what I think I'm seeing is, I think I'm seeing price because I'm an admin, not because I'm an evaluator.
Yeah, so what we'll want to make sure is that because if you have an evaluator that has access to these to be awarded bid section and can click inside here, then they would be able to see price because they have access to see that. But your user probably sees it because you're an admin, but we'll want to make sure that your evaluators don't have access to see pricing in the to be awarded bid section. So that's where pricing would be held. If they're just an evaluator, they won't see pricing here as long as you do not attach your proposal.
So for
for testing next week, can we like get Richard Ash and give his password to be test, and then we can use Richard as an evaluator next week?
Yeah.
Because he's first on the alphabetical list.
Yeah, so you just want me to, so we can just give him a temporary password that you can log in with.
Training, yeah.
And then you can, you can see what it looks like from his standpoint as an evaluator.
That would be great, because I think I'm confusing myself the way that you just explained that, because I couldn't get price to disappear.
Yeah, so keep in mind that it's based off of access level and permission. Because you're an admin, you're seeing everything, but different users might have different views depending on their level of access. So if you're logged in as Richard and you are seeing under the view bids, and if you are able to click into one of these bids and see pricing as a vendor, so see what the vendor submitted, then let me know, because there's a permission that we can turn on that makes it so price is invisible, or price is removed from their view.
Okay. Well, Richard Ash right now is only an evaluator.
Okay.
So does that sound like he's a good test case?
Yeah, I would say he is, because then you're just testing an evaluator user.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
Question about after award. Can we send out notices after the award?
Can you send out notices after the award? Was that the question?
Yes.
Are you wanting to send a notice to the vendor, or are you wanting to send a notice to internal users?
Vendors that participated in the presentation.
So the only people, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, in case you couldn't hear, it was all vendors who participated.
Yeah. You kind of have two locations. It's depending on where you're wanting to post that. So if you are in the evaluation, and I clicked on the past evaluation section, and then inside of the evaluation, you have an email section here that says send an email. So you could say send to suppliers, and it would list the suppliers on the list. I guess Nancy's email is not in here, so she's not showing, but Douglas, who was a supplier, is on here. You could also add in extra email addresses if you needed to notify users or vendors, and then you would create your message. So this is one way that you could send out a notification. Another way is usually in the view bid section and the to be awarded bids. So you have the option when selecting award to send out your own notification, and you can choose to just notify all vendors that basically participated, only notify the winning bidder, or do not send one, and you can upload your own attachment here. So if you're wanting to notify all the vendors that participated, then you would select notify all bidders. Here, upload your attachment. And then you would do your award. But that sends out as an award email. You also have the option, if you're not wanting to send out an award email, inside of the bid itself. So I clicked on award, and that's how I got to that one email location. If you click inside of the solicitation with the offers, there's uploading a pre-award attachment, and you can upload one here. However, that will post on a tabulation for anybody to view, not just the suppliers that were invited. So it kind of depends on what point you're wanting to send out a notification. Are you wanting to send one just on the evaluation, that the evaluation has been completed, and just to those vendors that you've added to that message? Or are you wanting to send one on the bid level to notify the vendors that it's been awarded?
My example is we do the evaluation, we finish the evaluation, we post the award.
Come closer. So, hold on, Claudia's gonna talk about a scenario.
Okay.
after we finish the evaluation, we post the award, and we have to, for whatever reason, extend the time on our event. We need to send out a notice to the vendors that participated only.
What are you doing?
Okay.
You're adding time to what?
To the, after the award, after we post the intent to award.
Intent,
Intent.
right?
Then
Okay, so you're actually wanting to make an award notification to just the vendors that participated?
Well, hold on. Let Claudia walk all the way through it. Go ahead.
Okay.
So you want to have
we post the award,
the tab sheet,
yes,
okay?
but then we have to extend the timeline for whatever reason.
Extend the timeline of what?
Of the solicitation.
Not to accept new ones, but
No, but to either evaluate.
further
or-
evaluation. So it's like an addendum that we're going to
Correct.
tell the people who participated
That we extend.
that we are extending our evaluation period. Okay. So,
Okay,
and what we're trying to do is we're in the evaluation period. We're running up to the date that we said that we would finish evaluations, but maybe somebody had a death in the family. We need another week or two, whatever the
Yeah.
reason. Claudia would like to get a note out to all the vendors who participated that we are not done with our evaluation.
okay. Then she'll do that through the evaluation tool. So she'll go to RFP Eval. If it's in a current bid evaluation state still, she could click on it and send email, but she would just send the email to the suppliers. It should bring over the suppliers on the evaluation, but if it doesn't, she can add in their emails here with a message letting them know that we're still in progress. So the evaluation is still in progress. It will be going for so much time, and then she can put her password in and submit.
And then we could take out that standard text that gives them the link because we don't want them to go there yet.
Yeah, you could remove all this if you needed to.
Okay. That's good. Very good question. That was great. Thank you for thinking of that.
Any other questions?
Think we're good?
Okay, well that ends today's training, which covers the aspect of the evaluation tool from a creator standpoint. So to create the evaluation, to manage it while it's in held, to push it to a current evaluation, to starting it once it's in a current evaluation, so actually coming down and making sure that you've started the evaluation. And then once the evaluation closes, to managing it in a past bid or past evaluation state. So that ends this training. Before we jump off, do you want to make any comments, Andre, Claudia, Fran?
No comments, but I was wondering if you could give us a tip. So that we'll, like, I usually create bids that are like 2 hours in duration. So that gives me enough time to go in and put in some responses. And then if my responses only take me 20 minutes to do, then I have to wait an hour and a half. Is there something that I can do to close a bid so that I can start awarding or evaluating without having to wait 2 hours?
To close a solicitation so you can start the evaluation? Is that what you're asking?
And or awards, yeah.
Yeah, so I believe a solicitation has to be available for 24 hours before it can close, at least in the system. And so there's not a way to like quick close it with the solicitation being in a still active state for vendors to participate, because you could close a solicitation, but what that does is that actually stops it. So you're saying we're not even going to be out for bid for this anymore. So there's not a way to like close it with it still being active so you can then evaluate an award. It's all based off of that time frame that you've put in, your bid end date and time. So if you only want the solicitation to be out for an hour, then you need to have your time reflect that.
Okay, but like my question is more referred to the training system. Like say for instance, I want to set up a RFP and test some evaluations. To go do that, I create an RFP and I give it a date and time.
Yeah.
And then I release.
So you're more talking about once you create an evaluation, you're wanting it to close sooner than what you've indicated?
Yes, like once I have pretended that I'm a vendor and I put in my price, I'm done. I'm ready to close the bid so that I can start the next step. Do I have to wait 2 more hours?
You could close the evaluation right there, and then it would let you know there's people that aren't done evaluating, and then hit save, and then this would give you your results. So you're basically pre-closing the evaluation.
Okay, my question was referring to, maybe I was re-asking it and hoping for a different answer, but my question dealt with the bid. Like say, for instance, I create a new bid type called RFP. I release it. I then sign in as test vendor 3. I put in a price. Once I'm done with the price, do I have to wait for the bid to close another hour or 2? Or can I go ahead and close it prematurely so that I can start the next process in the procurement cycle?
Okay, so I think I'm getting confused with a bid and an evaluation. If you're doing a bid and you've created a bid and you've gone in as one vendor and bidded, and then you've gone in as your second vendor and bidded, and you've gone in as your third vendor and placed a bid, you have to wait to the time the bid closes. You can't close the bid early and still retain offers, even in training. It follows that same rule. It's an hour. I believe it's an hour that at least has to be by. So training, there's no way to close it out. It works the exact same way in production.
Okie dokie.
Change your opening time?
We're trying to teach Andre patience.
No, I get the same way because I have to create examples for things, and it would be nice to close it out early so I could show these different stages of examples, but I have to do the same thing. I have to let it run for an hour and close.
Okay. All righty. Well, if you can't do it, we can't do it.
Well, you just close 2 hours before you know you can finish it up.
That's what I do.
It is ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's only an hour, so you just have to have it last an hour, so you could give it an hour time limit, hurry and go in and place your offers, and then wait for it to expire.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, that will go ahead and end our training session for the RFP evaluation. As soon as these training videos today have finished loading, I will create a Dropbox account and invite you to that evaluation so that you can go ahead and download those videos for use. Just like I showed you in the last training, a great place to go to if you need any help is the support.bidsync.com. You will need to make sure to log in with your username and password, and you can search for user guides here. So you'll just type in, I just did RFP evaluation. It will bring up a user guide on how to create an evaluation. But there's other user guides in the system for the evaluation as well, how to release an evaluation, closing an evaluation. So you can find all different help guides here in the system. So I recommend doing that as well if you have questions as you're playing around in the training environment. And then if there are any questions from the evaluation, testing or training standpoint, please give those questions back to Andre, Claudia, or Fran. And if they cannot address them, then they can send them to myself and I will get those addressed.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice rest of your day.
All right. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye.